This is a delicious, simple, traditional Italian dish. I make it all the time. It's so simple. I make it midweek when I'm super busy. I often get Gianfranco to help me with it because it's so easy. You just sort of putting everything in a bowl and mixing it with your hands and then making little balls. They're essentially meatballs, but contrary to what some people might think, spaghetti and meatballs is not Italian. You won't find it anywhere in Italy. I guess it's something that the Italo-Americani probably introduced to America. It's a great dish, but it's just not something you'd find here. And here, la polpetta is so revered that it is its own dish. It doesn't need any pasta. It is just wonderful when surrounded, drenched in a delicious, rich tomato sauce, which we're going to make as well. And then that's all you need, and it's quite nutritious as well because you're not really. I mean, there's some dry bread in there, which I like because we've always got dry bread around the house, and it's a good way to not have it be wasted. But you've got if you put lots of wonderfully fresh herbs in there and parmigiano and some nutmeg, it can mean that you're getting more than just some balls of mincemeat. You're getting a really full, flavorful meal. Okay, let's make some polpette. I'm going to start by chopping some stale bread, which I have here, and I'll just pop that in the blender to blend it into fine breadcrumbs. And it's great because we always have a bit of stale bread in the house, and this is a great way to make sure it doesn't get wasted. And I think it's got sort of, if you use a bit of like sourdough or something like I'm using here, it gives it a lot more flavor and a lot more texture than just the packaged breadcrumbs that you buy or panko or anything like that. Also, I like to take my meat out of the fridge because, believe it or not, cold meat, when you're sort of plunging your hands into it, it can be really cold, and because I like to mix it all around with my hands. I suppose if you're doing it in a food processor, but as you know, that's not really my thing. The most I will use in terms of appliances will be the blender. With mixing it all together, I really like to just get a lovely big bowl like this one, and make sure it's really big so that you're not making a mess and you've got plenty of room. And then it's such a fun thing to do with a toddler or any child, I guess, because they can't really mess it up. So I don't ever measure the ingredients, but today I've brought my measuring cups just so that I can take note of the quantities I use for you, so that you can try and replicate this at home. Okay, so let's go and blend this in the kitchen. So I have my breadcrumbs, and now I have some parmigiano, which is so delicious and is going to provide so much flavor and also make them nice and salty and kind of melt into the polpette. A lot of you have been asking for updates on everything. I'm sort of the opinion that if you haven't got good news to share, then you just keep it to yourself, because I know so many of you come to this channel for escapism and serenity and a break from the tiring things of the world, tiring things in your life. And so if I don't update you, it's because, maybe I've got some things going on in my life that aren't so positive, and I don't want to bring you down. And I take my responsibility quite seriously to lift you up and lift your spirits and give you some beauty and So now I'm just grating the parmigiano, and this is going to provide wonderful flavor. It's so lovely and salty and sharp. And hello.
Hello. I'm putting 2 lemons in front of the doors.
Ok, ma quali? Questi qua?
Uno dei due. Uno e uno.
No, ma sono belli qua.
Ma uno lì non lo vedi neanche.
Sì, ma certo che lo vedo.
The second one.
Ah, the second one no, forse
So
no.
we can take the second one and one of these two.
Sei sicuro?
Vediamo come stanno. Gli piace starli al...
No, che mi piace. I like this sort of it being like a nice little cozy border of the eating area. No?
Vabbè, uno ce lo metto perché voglio tappare i condizionatori.
I basically, let's see, I think I use quite a bit of cheese, so maybe 1.5. in the end you can't really mess it up with the quantities, but they're so good the next day. And so I find that even if you're just a single person or you're a couple, it's worth making a lot just to then keep them in the fridge, and they're so delicious cold as well. Then I have these eggs here, which are from our neighbor. These are a bit small, so sometimes I put one, sometimes I put two if they're just little eggs. You see, it's so easy. We're just getting all these things prepared and then they all just get mixed in together. So herbs. The herbs are very important. You don't want to feel like you're just biting into a bowl of bland meat. You want there to be just all these different layers of flavor going on. And I'm going to start with oregano. I'm going to take the leaves off the stalks of the oregano because the stalks are a little bit tough. Whereas with the parsley, I feel like parsley stalks, you can just cut them finely and they're delicious mixed in. I'll just put some of this cheese into the bowl so I can use this cup. I like to go quite heavy on the herbs because I find they give the meatballs such flavor and a little bit of freshness to counter the richness of the meat and the cheese. Half a cup of oregano, which I'll now chop, and I'll probably do 3/4 cup of parsley. That's my approximate measurements for you. Oh no, I can hear Raffaello waking up and he's going to want some milk. This can go into the bowl. Sorry, just a little pausa just to feed Raffaello. I'm sure that many of you have encountered a child who looks aghast at any meal that comes littered with herbs, something green, and they say, "What's that?" And I really didn't want to have a child who had that negative response to herbs because they're so nutritious and they're so delicious, and I like to put them in every meal. So I thought I want to be able to cook meals that we can all eat, and I don't have to cook separate meals for the children. And I wanted them to develop a fairly sophisticated palate because there's nothing wrong with herbs, and it's not like something that's really strong like truffle or garlic that is super, super strong for a child. So I made sure that from the very first meals that I ever prepared for Gianfranco, like at 6 or 7 months, I always put some little finely chopped herbs in there so he could get used to always seeing something green in his dishes. And now it's great because now he'll like look at something, even if it's, I don't know, ragu or potatoes or whatever, and there'll always be something. There'll be thyme or rosemary or parsley or basil or oregano, and he'll always have fun like guessing with me and say, "I think this is oregano, mama, and this is thyme," and it's worked out really well. Maybe that's just his character, that he's a good eater. I don't know, but it's something that if you're someone who's starting a child on eating, it's a good thing to do, because if you suddenly introduce herbs at a later date, I feel like it's just too foreign for them, and understandably a child's like, what's that, what's all that green stuff? Whereas now Gianfranco's really just accustomed to seeing green things in every meal that he has. So now I have my meat here, which is 568 grams. This is a mix of beef and pork. Do you know what I do actually is I often just put 2 sausages in as well. We have these really delicious artisanal sausages which are lovely to just give a little bit of saltiness. Having the 2 types of meat gives the polpette a bit more dimension. And what else do I want now? So the breadcrumbs, which I should measure out so that you know how much to use. Okay, at this point I'm just going to get a feel for it with my hands. Actually, this is a beautiful shot. Perhaps you should have a look. Just want to see how that feels, and maybe I'll add some more breadcrumbs. Yeah, I think I might add another half a cup. Okay, and the eggs. And then salt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And pepper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And nutmeg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now I go in with my hands. Just so satisfying. I think when you mix it with your hands, you can kind of see if you might need some more of something. Like you can sort of look and say, okay, I could do with some more herbs, or okay, maybe it's a bit wet and I can add a bit more. You can add a few more breadcrumbs. Obviously you want to try to make them all around the same size if you can, so that then they cook at the same rate when they're in the pan. I want just a little bit of flour, and then just roll them lightly, tap off the excess, and they're ready to go in a hot pan. First I'm going to fry these off in a little olive oil in a pan to seal them and kind of give them a lovely golden outer edge, and then I will cook the rest of the polpette in the tomato sauce, which I will make with just some onion, garlic, canned tomatoes, and maybe some passata as well. Okay, let's go into the kitchen. So while the polpette are browning on the outside, in another pan I cooked the onion in olive oil, added the garlic, then 2 cans of crushed tomatoes and some salt. Some passata. What I try to avoid is overcooking the polpette. Nobody wants a dry old meatball. You want to sort of cut into it with your fork and it to be juicy and succulent inside. So to do that, I like to cook the sauce separately and really let it reduce down. Anytime you're cooking with like canned tomatoes or tomato passata, you want to let it have time to develop and become sort of rich and thick, and not have that sort of tinny acidic taste that you get when you've only cooked it for, I don't know, a few minutes. So once that sauce is ready, add some sea salt, add a little bit of extra olive oil if you like that. Let it get to the thickness that is desired, and only then add in the polpette, because they're just going to need a very short amount of cooking. I'd say 5 minutes or so. They don't need much cooking because we've already done that first sauteing in the pan. So what I like to do is get my sauce to the point that I want it, my polpette have been browned, and then I just leave it. Now I'm ready for dinner, and only when everyone's practically gathering around the table and setting the plates and everything, then I will turn the sauce back on, put my polpette in, and then just cook them so that I'm cooking them through for about 4 or 5 minutes, but not too much. And you can cut one open to see if it's done, but because they're only small, it doesn't take them very long to cook through. And yeah, you just serve them up with a little bit of drizzle of olive oil, some extra parmigiano, and they should be a delicious, healthy meal for all the family. I will write up the recipe. I'll put it on my site, kyliflavel.com. I generally make a lot larger quantity than I made today, so you could definitely use a kilo of meat if you're wanting to have leftovers, or if you're eating in, let's say, 6 people or even just if everybody wants seconds, which in our family they always do, including Gianfranco. So I probably should have made a bit more, but that's just the amount of mince that I had, and the amount that I've made can easily serve 4 people. So we're just greedy, what can I say? Thank you for watching. Thank you to my wonderful patrons who support this channel, and I hope to see you next episode. Alla prossima!